Decision 2014 isn't over for the Democrats. This says Gutierrez-Gumataotao campaign chairman Ken Perez has written to the Guam Election Commission requesting for a manual audit on the unofficial results of the general election. In a letter submitted Monday afternoon, Perez congratulates the GEC staff and management on the conduct of the 2014 general election. However, he asked for a manual audit of no less than 10 precincts at random choosing by the GEC. Perez tells KUAM that the request comes not of the conduct of the election, but rather the security and testing of the equipment. He says the scanners from the GEC's 3 new tabulation machines from longtime vendor election systems and software have been under question in jurisdictions where they are used. Perez adds those jurisdictions have also required manual audits of the election. Perez tells KUAM that he's been involved in every gubernatorial election since the island first had an elected governor in the 1970s, and he's never seen a margin won by a gubernatorial candidate like last week's Super Tuesday results. And while she couldn't comment on the matter until all commissioners were in receipt of the letter, earlier this morning, Executive Director Maria Pangilinan of the Guam Election Commission spoke with KUAM on questions about the results and equipment.
We believe the machines were perfectly fine on election day.
Why do you believe that?
We went through the ritual. We went through the test election on Sunday. When we found the problems, we went through it thoroughly, and so I'm pretty confident about the machines. But if people have questions, let's bring those questions up and let's see how we can deal with them.
The GEC conducted a test election with the machines on the Sunday before the election. The results, however, were not consistent, possibly due to the transport of the machines and change of temperature. A follow-up test election was conducted the following day, where the results were reading accurately. Both parties were present at the test election, including Perez.
You got to remember that there was 36 hours that those machines were idle at UOG. And according to testing that was done by the University of Pennsylvania, by other testing groups in the United States, it only takes 3 minutes to reprogram this particular machine. We did, but because this is our basic concern, my basic concern, was the gubernatorial campaign. Now, you got to remember that the Democrats took the majority in the legislature, pretty good majority, and almost a super majority. And I've been involved in every gubernatorial election since the elected governor law was signed, and I have never seen an election where the opposing party won a good majority in the legislature, and the gubernatorial was won by the opposite party.
Perez tells KUAM that the testing of the machines prior to an election in California, for example, requires a test of 10,000 ballots, whereas the GEC's test was only for 116 ballots. And while a test election was conducted during the primary election, Perez tells KUAM there's actually no reason to request for a manual audit then, because they were going into the general election. Political analyst Ron McNinch, in the meantime, says he was surprised by the final outcome for the governor's race, but says there's absolutely no need for a recount.
But in general, no. Not when you don't make it in any precinct. Not when you lose every village. It's pretty clear. It's obvious from the results that some Democrats didn't vote for Gutierrez. In fact, they probably crossed over, or they did cross over.
According to the unofficial results, Calvo Tenorio received over 63% of the vote, or more than 9,700 votes compared to Gutierrez-Gumataotao. We should note Calvo Tenorio also won every single one of the 58 village precincts. As for how the Republicans feel, Republican Party of Guam Chairman Mike Benito tells KUAM, quote, "It's disappointing that he just doesn't see the loss for what it is. This was a mandate by the people, but they don't want to let it go. If the Guam election sees it fit to do so, then we'll respect that. But at this point, it would seem somewhat of a frivolous claim," end quote. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintaniza.